Now, for all of those who are attending tonight, I probably didn't need to tell you that. And the reason I didn't need to tell you that is because you know these two individuals very, very well. Absolutely. And the fact of the matter is when we put out tickets for this conversation, they sold out in a matter of instant. And I think that really is a reflection on the real contribution, but how special that contribution is to the individuals in this room, but more importantly to Australia more broadly. So it is my real pleasure to introduce this an evening with Margaret and David, and we're joined by a third individual, Claude Gonzalez, the unseen hand, guiding through at the movies for many, many years, who will guide us through this conversation and give some insights himself. So with that, without further ado, can I have a round of applause? Thank you so much. An evening with Margaret and David.
Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you for making this a great welcome. We thought we'd start, as we spoke about this, gathering a few items that we had in our DVD library, so you'll be seeing some clips. You'll be hearing from Margaret and David about their careers, and then if we get time, we'll do a quick Q&A at the end. But let's have item 1, please, Luca, on the screen. So let me begin by asking...
Oh, I was so young once.
Who were you at this time, let's say before the movie show? Who were Margaret and David before they became Margaret and David? David?
Who was I before?
Yes, what were you doing?
I'd been directing the Sydney Film Festival for 18 years, from 1966 to 1983. That was the period we moved it from the university to the State Theatre. And then SBS Television started in 1980, and I was asked to become the feature film consultant and programmer for this new television network, because a lot of it, most of it, 95% of it at least, was going to consist of foreign language films. So because I had, by that time, quite a knowledge of what was going on in the world of cinema, and had good contacts around the world, that worked out quite well. And then Bruce Gingell, what was Bruce's role?
He was sort of managing director, wasn't he?
Bruce Gingell, who was managing director. Bruce Gingell, who was, as I'm sure some of you know, when television in Australia started, he was the first voice, first person to talk on television. Anyway, Bruce asked me if he said, I like the films you're programming, but some of them are a bit obscure. I think it'd be good if you introduce them. So that's how I came to introduce eventually 3 films a week, Movie of the Week, Cinema Classics, and I can't remember what the third one was, but there was a third one anyway.
Yeah.
And so 3 movies a week. I had a couple of stipulations. One was that they were always shown in the correct ratio. So if the film was made in widescreen, we showed it widescreen. And another stipulation was that it was not censored. And so that worked out pretty well. And then...
Margaret, were you working at SBS? Where were you at that time? From, let's say, 80 to 86?
Yeah.
Sorry,
and I was... I'd come back to Australia in the early 70s, and I was basically an escapee from screenwriting. I had a really hideous experience, and I thought I never want to do that again. But I came from a writing background, and I married a filmmaker, and through the 70s, I went to all the AFI screenings and kept up with Australian film, and David was at SBS, and I tried to talk to him about cinema, and he absolutely snubbed me. He's a bit like that sometimes. And then I was made his producer, and for his movie introductions, and I said, I don't think that's a good idea. And anyway, surprisingly, he fell on my neck because he really wanted someone within SBS to look after him. I mean, you're a spoilt brat, really.
I don't remember falling on your neck, but anyway.
But out of that, we used to have, in the 80s, the early 80s, it was the era of the long lunch. And David and I would go and have lunch at the pub opposite. SBS was at Milson's Point at that stage. And we would talk about cinema. We would say, wouldn't it be great to get a show like Siskel and Ebert on Australian television? And it was sort of that sort of pipe dream that people have. And we had at that stage a management that was heavily news biased. And they didn't actually want any black and white films shown on David's Cinema Classics. And it was sort of like, wash your mouth out. Really, it was sacrilege. And they weren't interested at all. But then a new management came in, and the head of programming, I'd made a little bit of something. I was producing and writing at SBS. And he said, there was a half hour that needed filling, and he wanted me to do an extended version of this sort of self-promotional thing. And I said, that's the most boring load of shit I've heard in a long time. Why don't you let me have a go at the movie show? And I can't remember how much money they gave me for that, but I think it all went to you. And the first sets, Roger Ford, who became a very famous Australian production designer, designed Babe, was working at the ABC, and he moonlighted with us for it was made out of styrofoam. It was the cheapest set you could ever get. It was it was smell of oily rag time. And oh, sorry.
No, that's okay, because you were actually producing, but suddenly you went in front of the camera.
Yeah, well, it was always going to be a male and a female. I absolutely insisted on that, and David was very happy to go along with it.
Thank you.
Except I could not find another woman that he agreed to work with, except for a woman who was reviewing for Cleo, who was very well endowed. And I approached her, and she said no, she didn't want to borrow them. And we had an on-air date, and it was getting a little bit urgent, and David said to me, why don't you give it a go? And I went, no, I just want to produce. And he must have talked to Peter Barrett, who was the head of programming, and he leaned on me and said, why don't you give it a go? And so we did a couple of test runs, and
Margaret got drunk.
I did have to we recorded very early in the morning, and I did have to have a whiskey to start with. I'd never been on television before. I'd only produced people on television. It was a truly scary experience, and it stayed that way for quite a long time. It is actually very confronting, putting yourself out there, knowing that if you're lucky, only 50% of the people are going to hate you. David was already well loved, and I'd produced the opening things for his introduction to movies, and I had a lot of fun doing that. We worked well together.
It's interesting that you had that period, because we'll just show two items back to back now, which are the two title sequences from a show, and they've got their iconic music but also just get you all in the mood of what these shows were and how dynamic they were. So if you could play the two back to back, please.
Oh, God.
We return tonight with reviews of Martin Scorsese's Casino.
With Emma Thompson and company in Sense and Sensibility.
And we talk to Tim Robbins about Dead Man Walking.
Good evening.
Hi.
It's great to be back, especially with a programme that includes an interview with the Oscar-nominated Emma Thompson.
And the surprisingly unnominated Nicole Kidman, who talks to us about To Die For.
And now we've got the other one.
Tonight, Clint Eastwood directs Angelina Jolie in Changeling.
Anne Hathaway does weddings, parties and rehab in Rachel Getting Married.
And rejection, unrequited love and unreturned text messages in He's Just Not That Into You.
Hello and welcome back to another year at the movies.
Yes, good evening.
What always struck me, and when I first met Margaret and David, is their chemistry, but that chemistry wasn't there at the very beginning. Did you have a lot of time to bed the program? Because now on TV you only have 2 to 5 weeks to bed a program. Margaret and David, you were able to make mistakes at the beginning and... Really
Hello? He didn't. Well, I think it took a long time for me to relax anyway. And I remember in the early days, I was so uptight that I got letters from the audience saying that they couldn't stand the tension. So I thought I'd better tone it down a bit. Just looking at that though, you know, that at the movies, the theme, I wanted Ennio Morricone's The Good, the Bad and the Ugly. He wanted $700,000 US for it. ABC said no.
He's always a tricky customer. David interviewed him. We interviewed him in Adelaide, Morricone.
We did, yes.
He's a very tricky person.
Yeah,
He's asked us to call him Maestro throughout the whole meeting.
You can hear
It's a beautiful
the
theme.
influence of Good and Bad.
David, how did you find bedding the program, getting it moving, and actually the chemistry between the two of you?
Well, to me it seemed relatively easy. I mean, I must admit I'm probably very insensitive, but I didn't tap into Margaret's angst. I thought we did quite well. I mean, I was coming at films from a particular angle, I guess a different angle from mine. I mean, the thing was that I had been seeing virtually every feature film released since I was about 10. So you know, I had a huge back knowledge of films, and I'd already travelled somewhat for the Sydney Film Festival, and so I'd met some filmmakers, and you know, I'd already met Godard and Truffaut and people like that, and so I was sort of coming at it from I guess a sort of historical and a film buff perspective. Margaret was, correct me if I'm wrong, was a regular film goer. She would go and see films like normal people go and see films. I don't think she'd seen a horror film before the movie show. Is that right?
No, that's most probably wasn't my favourite genre.
Yeah.
And then I can't remember.
Then you had to see them all.
And then and I grew to love them.
Yes.
Was it a different responsibility for you? Because suddenly you're a critic with a voice and a level of power.
Well, that's the thing, that, putting me in that seat, David gave me credibility. But I think there was one comment from someone that said, "What's that barmaid doing?"
Really?
Yeah, really. And there was a very nasty crit down from your Melbourne friend that I didn't forgive him for a number of years. But no, it was, look, we started to roll along together and...
Well, I think the amazing thing is that we clicked so early, because we did. I mean, really almost before those first 6 programs for SBS had come to an end. Sorry, how many?
12.
12, okay. 12, I think it was 6, but she thinks it was 12. That's all right. But almost before they were over, we had a following, which I don't understand to this day.
Look, it was a minuscule following. I mean, it was SBS, you're on the edge of the broadcasting spectrum. And I think we were really lucky that not too many people watched us in the early days. I think, really, we were very rough around the edges. Well, I was rough around but David was always suave. But, that was the advantage of coming in from the edge and just creeping in. And I have to say that the other reason that we stayed on air so long at SBS was because the program was so damn cheap.
Not morally cheap.
It was, budget-wise, we were making over 40 programs
42, yeah.
a year. And the above-the-line budget was $440 or something. So that's a half hour of television for $10,000. That's cheap in anybody's language. So I thought that...
And you got all those nice clips that were free.
Well, this is why how we were able to make it so cheaply.
Yeah.
And, fitting in that budget, going to Cannes and Venice was... I don't know how I did it, really. I had a very good production manager with Electra.
But also you had a look, like when I first met you and began to watch you and then worked on the show, I knew you were the style queen. I thought, oh, great, Margaret's going to always look fantastic. And David always wore the same shoes.
Oh,
and I thought...
Tell me about it.
You had a look. You just did your own thing. You had your own style and you came on.
You looking at me?
No, I was looking at Margaret. But Margaret, you actually gave that fashion identity too. So a lot of people, when they responded or sent emails or whatever, said, oh, Margaret's got a look.
Sandra Levy, who's here today, was head of the ABC at that time. And actually, she's the reason that we went to the ABC. So thank you, Sandra. We were both very unhappy at SBS at that stage. We just had a falling out with management. No, anyway, enough said about that. But I always liked the fact that she said, Margaret, you dress yourselves. David, we'll dress you. Sorry. He was always very upset about that.
Well, I didn't like it when people were wrong.
Just for a change of gear now, I've asked Margaret and David to look at...
Of gear, you mean like...
No, yeah, but it's a good segue. It's a good segue to look at 4 clips. We've got 4 clips from the show, from SBS and the ABC as a a clip and review where Margaret and David can look at these clips, and we'll start with really quite a dynamic film from 2007. It's a 2-minute clip for Death Proof, and it's their review we can all have a look at and then comment on.
No, Tarantino made a 2-part thing with Rodriguez.
You loved it.
This is the Tarantino part.
Yeah. Thank you, Luca. We'll play next item.
Is it safe?
Oh, it's better than safe. It's death proof.
On its own, Death Proof looks a bit odd. It was originally part of a movie called Grindhouse, along with another film, Planet Terror, directed by Robert Rodriguez. When Grindhouse failed at the US box office, it was taken apart. Tarantino added almost half an hour to his segment, Death Proof, but in fact, less might have been more. The film is basically an excuse to introduce us to Zoe Bell, a New Zealand stunt woman. She did stunts for Uma Thurman on Kill Bill, who is immensely talented and a winning personality. So what did you think, Margaret?
David, I loathe this film.
You loathed it?
I was...
But come on, you're a Tarantino fan. You love Kill Bill.
It's made me reassess and think, is he really as talented as I thought he was? And maybe he isn't.
Were you wrong about Kill Bill? Is that what you're saying?
I don't know. It's scary to think that. But I just found this so self-indulgent. I came out of the cinema and I was angry. The dialogue between these women is tedious beyond belief. It's sort of like a male wet dream, where they're talking about, the sex with the guy the night before. Constantly. Every scene, every sequence goes on way too long. You want to slap him across the jaws and say, get your act together and cut all that bit out.
Well, you see,
and there's a nasty undercurrent to this too.
There's a nasty undercurrent to all Tarantino's films. You can't...
Yeah, I suppose, but it's very, very much on the surface. And Zoe Bell might be a really, really good stunt woman, but she's not a really, really good actor.
Oh, she's terrific. I love Zoe Bell. I think and that last car chase is just so exciting.
Women are so boring. It's an insult to my sex, this whole film.
How can you say that? What are you giving it?
I'm giving it half a star.
No, I'm giving it 2 hours. I obviously liked it. It's not a great Tarantino, but it's a good one.
Oh, no, it's not. I honestly think that clip's so funny now.
This is hilarious. It's interesting too because we had a lot of tentpole films and named directors, and it was never an issue. You said, "Okay, I'm going to review it," because you had loved Kill Bill.
Yeah, I know.
Been really good, and suddenly he had something from a director that was a disappointment. Did you sometimes have to reassess and go, "Oh, I was wrong about that," or what came into the criticism sometimes to?
I think you can reassess. I wasn't a mad fan of, for example, American Beauty. And I think when I saw it again, I thought I'd been a bit harsh on it. And someone sent me a text the other day saying that I hadn't liked Love Actually. I'd been a bit lukewarm on Love Actually. I'd only given it 2 stars. And I replied, well, it is a construct, that film. It's everybody's favourite Christmas movie. But I said, maybe I should have given it 2.5.
I love Actually.
You would.
Because David, you like these sort of more action-packed genre films more than Margaret did sometimes. You tended to like them.
Excuse me, Fast and the Furious?
Yes, that's true. But there was a hunk element there that you liked as well. I remember you were a big Van Diesel fan, but it's interesting too. With you had interviewed Tarantino very early on in his career, so you had both had a longevity following filmmakers, And Tarantino had given David and Margaret the first interview for Reservoir Dogs in Cannes. And so with many of the filmmakers, you'd follow their careers. Did that happen to you too, that you thought, oh, I'm disappointed with some, but you never held back, did you, David?
No, I don't think so. Can I tell a story about Reservoir Dogs? Yes. We arrived in Cannes, and the publicist, one of the publicists we used to work with, who was very, very good, we said, what have you got? And she said, well, I've got this young American director, very keen to be interviewed. He's made his first film called Reservoir Dogs. I said, okay. So I said, well, I'll do that one. I'll put it down on the list to do. And then when it came to it, the schedule was so difficult, as it often was in Cannes, that, there was, and Venice, there were so many overlapping things that I didn't get to see it. And so it turned out that Mr. Tarantino did not have the budget to rent a hotel room to do interviews, which was the normal venue for interviews. So he was going to do it on the beach, squatting. Not the best way to do an interview. So anyway, I arrived at the interview, met Mr. Tarantino for the first time, and said, look, I actually, no, I didn't say. I lied.
I would.
What?
I'd lie. I would lie too.
Yes, I lied. I had asked a friend who had seen it, what should I ask him? And he said, well, maybe ask him this. So I asked him one question. He talked for half an hour. And then 2 years later, he was in Cannes with Pulp Fiction, and he was staying at the smartest hotel, and you had 2 minutes with him or something. I don't know what the thing was.
Yeah. Because sometimes we would go overseas and they'd only give us 3 minutes with a filmmaker, and we'd have to really fight to get an interview.
Yes.
Well, the trouble with Cannes and Venice, well, Cannes particularly, was that in the early days you would get an interview with a filmmaker for a quarter of an hour, 20 minutes, where you could really talk about something. By the end of our time there, we were lucky to get, 4 minutes. And it's sort of like, it's almost useless. It was really disappointing. But...
Yeah, because
the other frustrating thing was that Margaret and I both had a certain knowledge by this time about films and filmmakers. But when it came to a really big name, like, for example, Tom Cruise or Harrison Ford or someone like this, we wouldn't get the Australian interview. There was going to be one Australian interview, because that was going to go to some hopeless person from Channel 7 who didn't know one end of a film from the other.
Oh!
No names.
That's...
But this is interesting about following a career of a filmmaker, because the next clip is really one of the most contentious filmmakers in the division with Margaret and David. So we'll line up the next item, which is Lars von Trier's Dancer in the Dark from 2000.
Yes!
I didn't hear what you said.
Lars von Trier.
Lars von Trier is one of the founding members of the Danish film movement Dogma. Always provocative, he's done it again with Dancer in the Dark.
You shouldn't be working at the press at all. I mean, how dare you just... How much can you see?
I could do my job with my eyes closed.
Von Trier uses the conventions of the classic musical and turns them on their head in this film. He uses handheld video cameras, jump cuts, and ultimately terrifying realism to convince us that what we're seeing is no fantasy, and then indulges in the fantasy. His star, Björk, is plain, frumpily dressed, not winsomely charming, but she's a saint. Her musical Daydreams, which are beautifully choreographed by Vincent Pattison, unconventionally scored by Björk herself, are poignant and incredibly daring. Imagine Rodgers and Hammerstein indulging in a pas de deux with a corpse. For me, his greatness as a filmmaker lies in his daring, his willingness to risk, to push the boundaries of cinema.
The fascinating thing, Margaret, about Dancer in the Dark is the way it divides people. You obviously responded to it. I think it's a peculiarly repellent experience. I mean, there's nothing about this film that I like. I think the story is utterly ridiculous. I think you talk about
All musicals have ridiculous
No,
stories.
that's not true at all. They don't. Some musicals have great stories, and I mean, this is clearly an anti-musical. I would say Lars von Trier doesn't like musicals.
It seems to me that everything that I embrace in this film repels you.
Yeah, watching this film to me was like having someone scratching a blackboard for 2 hours. I mean, I found Björk's screen persona really.
Yeah, but
really. Oh, yeah, go on.
Well, that irritates me because I would much rather see someone do something like this than churn out another American bit of rubbish, to tell you the truth.
Well, I think this is rubbish. I think it's rubbish from start to finish, and I'm going to give it 0.
Well, I'm going to give it 5 stars. It's one of the best things of the year.
I'm going to tell on you. Ever since Breaking the Waves, you've hated
Breaking the Wind, I call it, yes.
every single von Trier film.
Yes.
You came back from Cannes, I think that screened in Cannes, and you had a review from the British critic Philip French. And you walked into my office and you slammed it on the table. See, and he absolutely rubbished Dancer in the Dark. I've sat next to you and Todd, who's
McCarthy?
McCarthy.
Yeah.
Todd McCarthy, and in a Lars von Trier film, and they sit there and they are going to hate it regardless of what's on the screen. You have an absolute prejudice towards this filmmaker.
Yes, it's a bit like Brussels sprouts, you know, if you don't... if you find it obnoxious, it's hard to...
No, I think he makes mistakes. I think he's a really weird guy.
You're joking.
But he did push the boundaries of cinema, and I thought he did it with this film. I mean, it's an anti-capital punishment film, for God's sake.
Well, I don't mind that, but it's the cinema that I mind, or the lack of, or the ugliness of his cinema.
Well, you are a classicist. You like, everything, with a form, and he's breaking form. I'm sorry, we're doing it again. Anyway, whatever.
When Nicole Kidman said she was going to do a film with Lars von Trier, I said, Nicole, don't do it.
She did anyway.
Yeah. She did anyway, but I don't think she enjoyed it.
No, I think the experience was quite... I don't think he's easy. Do you know, there was one of those roasts for me one time, and Libby Gore had organised this greeting from Lars in Denmark to go on screen for me. And he's swimming in his pool in Denmark, saying, "Oh, Margaret, I think that you are the only person in Australia that likes my films." and he comes out of the pool. Anyway, all the best to you, and he gets out of the pool and he's stark naked. That was a moment. He's weird.
Because I think that's the only director that really divided you constantly throughout. And he got more and more, as David said to me, sort of loopy towards the end, and shaky cam and so forth. And I think we were in Cannes, we did Melancholia together, and you had an argument, and we were trying. I said, "Oh, should we include it in the show?" And David didn't want to, and you did. And in the end we did, but we had two sides of the review. We filmed you and Todd McCarthy giving me an interview, and Margaret and Jonathan Romney giving me an interview, and so there were four critics clashing over Lars von Trier.
Well, I think Melancholia is a terrific film. So, anyway. I mean, they're not going to like him anyway, whatever he does.
Well, let's go to the next clip, which is something from 2013, which was a film by another divisive filmmaker, which is...
Another Danish?
Yes.
Well, no, it's not divisive.
Where's he from? Well, only God forgives. Next item, please.
A little upset. I have lost my first son.
When Crystal's told her son has raped and murdered a 16-year-old, her response is, I'm sure he had his reasons. Now, I guess it's meant to be funny, but in a way it's typical of this meretricious film, which is characterised by some of the most sadistic violence it's ever been my misfortune to see on screen. Alongside the violence is a pretentious artiness that's numbingly awful. I can't see Only God Forgives finding a large audience. It's just too sick, and in the end, too empty. It's about nothing. And Ryan Gosling coasts through it as though he's in a trance. In the press book, Refn talks about the second enemy of creativity after good taste is being safe. I would suggest the main enemy of creativity is to have nothing to say and yet indulge in the most degrading and shocking violence. It's not cool. Margaret.
Oh, David, I think you're being just a trifle harsh on this film. I mean, when I first came out of it, I thought, you know, it's all style and not a lot of substance. And I think it's because he does not invest a lot in the character of Julian. And I think within this film, there is an overriding moral order. And I think this is, you know, won the prize in Sydney, so thank God I'm not alone in thinking this is, you know, worth something, this film. And I don't know what you're giving it.
Well, I'm giving it a half.
I think that's pretty terrible. I'm giving it 4.
Look, it is a pretty terrible film. It's a pretty terrible film.
That's your opinion.
Yes,
the world, well, you know, it's going to divide people.
Of course it is.
Absolutely going to divide people.
So, tell me, Mai, what line of work are you in?
I'm an entertainer.
An entertainer.
Kristen Scott Thomas is just fabulous in that role. I really liked it. And one of our great mates who writes for Hollywood Reporter here, that had this line for it. What was it? A cool, wicked enjoyment. And I mean, the filmmaker, Nicholas Winding Refn, is Danish, and his early films, Pusher and Bleeder, I mean, he obviously goes for really harsh subjects.
I thought, when we were reviewing the program, I thought David would like it because Drive, which had been such a success, and but suddenly you had a different feeling for the film. You didn't like it at all.
It is excessive.
Can I tell you a background story about this? I had known Nicholas, or Nicky, Winding Refn, since he was about 5 years old, because I was very good friends with his uncle Peter Refn, who owned a cinema in Copenhagen and was a film distributor, and was one of the loveliest people you could ever meet, and who died far too young. And through Peter, I knew Anders Refn, who was Nicky's daddy. So when I would go and visit Anders' house or Peter's house, little Nicky was often running around. And he grew up to make that pile of garbage. So it just shows that even the best brought up kids can...
I think it was a very daring film. I think it obviously was going to divide people. But I think, you know, your absolute condemnation on it is just excessive, really. And it's sort of like he's such a nice man. Nicholas Winding Refn. He's a gorgeous.
Yes, is he? Yes.
Yes. Well, you didn't know him as an adult, maybe, but
I've met him as an adult.
Well, I've met him.
Talked about the good old days when he was playing around on the...
When he was 5. Oh, that must have been fascinating. Anyway, I mean, I think he's had an up and down career. I think Drive was, you know, very successful. I don't think that film made any money at all. Only God Forgives. Despite...
am I right in thinking that Only God Forgives won the prize at the Sydney Film Festival?
That's right, yes.
Yeah.
Jesus.
So not everybody agrees with you.
Sorry?
Not everybody agrees with you.
Of course not. I wouldn't expect everybody to. Does anybody?
Did you get a lot of public emails or letters when you did disagree and heat for your opinion?
Did I?
Yeah, did you receive...
No, I don't think I ever got one, unfortunately.
Margaret, did you get anything at all?
I'll tell you, Roadshow was not happy with our review, well, your review of Romper Stomper.
Oh. Well, that's another story.
I remember that I'm not sure if it was Roadshow, but they weren't happy with your review of Wolf Creek 2, which we gave 0 to.
There was no review.
No, we didn't review it.
Yeah, that's right, we're not reviewing, but you did make a statement saying you weren't reviewing, and it created such a tension in the air.
So I think it was stirred up by Greg McLean.
Yeah, he wanted
to make publicity.
The filmmaker.
That we didn't.
So sometimes the review can actually offset or create more publicity.
I know.
Yeah. So.
Well, I thought it was such a repulsive film that.
Did you see it?
Yes.
Yeah, we saw
Wolf Creek 2?
Wolf Creek 2, yes.
I thought the reason we didn't review it was that you hadn't seen it.
No, I think we saw it.
No, I saw it.
Yeah.
This is the one with John Jarrett.
That's right.
Yeah.
Wolf Creek 1 had John Jarrett.
Oh, well, the second one did too.
Anyway.
That's right. Ryan Corr was in it as well.
And sometimes those reviews would create a lot of heat and publicists would turn it into something else. But you wrote it out quite well because, I mean, we'll look at the next clip, which created a bit of frisson where David went against the grain. Everyone loved this film. And David was one of the people who didn't like this film. This is from 1997. Next clip, please, Luca.
This is my backyard.
Is that the runway there?
Sometimes you think they're going to land right on top of you.
By now, most people are aware that the talented team from Frontline, Rob Sitch, Jane Kennedy, Santo Chilaro and Tom Gleisner, have ventured into the feature film arena. Their debut effort is The Castle, as in Every Man's Home is. It's a fable about an Aussie battler, Daryl Kerrigan, played by Michael Caton, whose particular castle is situated right next to an airport. As the 747s thunder overhead, Daryl thanks his lucky stars for his family. Wife Sal, Ann Tenney, sons Dale and Steve, Stephen Curry and Anthony Simcoe, daughter Tracy, Sophie Lee, who's recently married Con, Eric Bana. The plot concerns Daryl's fight to save his home from compulsory acquisition for extensions to the airport. The little guy takes on the big ones.
If you move the Chimera, I need to get the Tirana out so I can get to the Commodore.
I'll have to get the keys to the Cortina. I'm going to move that Chimera.
It takes just a little while to get rid of the niggling thought that these characters are being laughed at by the filmmakers, but then you're suddenly embraced by the enormous affection the filmmakers have for Daryl and his family. Part of this is due to Michael Caton's wonderful performance as Daryl. It's a simple first effort from the Frontline team, shot in a very short space of time, but for me, it was a winner. David.
Well, I'm afraid it wasn't for me, Margaret. I really didn't get onto the wavelengths of this film at all. I thought it was patronising towards its characters. I didn't find it funny. it reminded me of the sort of humour that I thought had gone out with Dad and Dave 60 years ago.
Well, it's nice to know it's still around. I think it's a very Australian sort of humour.
Well, maybe I'm just not into that kind of humour because I just didn't find it funny. And
it's a matter of whether you do make that breakthrough and think, oh no, they really like this family.
Yeah, I mean, I just thought it was silly. And technically, it really is. I mean, you say it's rough. I mean, it's very rough. Very
How many stars are you going to give this?
I'll give it 1.5.
Oh, David. Oh, we have started off meanly. I'm giving it 4 stars.
My son's first appearance. Oh. Do you reckon he'll get off? Oh, no, he's a barrister.
It's really interesting because you sometimes reassess a film, and since you've reassessed The Castle, haven't you, David?
I have. When we were doing the documentary a few years ago, we did a bit on The Castle, and I watched it again, and I confess that I said I didn't get on the wavelength. I didn't. The second time I saw it, and in fact I think I saw it 3 times in the end, I did get on the wavelength. What seemed unfunny to me the first time felt funny subsequently, and I think some scenes are absolute gems, like the courtroom scene where Tyriel Mora does that wonderful thing about the vibe and so on. So yes, I misjudged the film. I still don't think it's that funny, and I mean and I do still tend to think that there's a degree of patronising towards the main characters, and it's filmed like a television movie. But I would, if I was doing it again today, to be honest, what did you give it? 4. Yeah, I would give it 4 too, I think, if I was giving
Do you do that? Sometimes go back and reassess a film, or do you watch many films again and again, David?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Because you're watching a film a day that you haven't seen each day, aren't you?
I try to watch a film every day that I haven't seen before. I won't manage it today, but yeah.
Because we were making 42 on average shows a year. We were reviewing 4 films per show. We would sometimes do specials where we do like a cluster, 7 films or so. So that's a lot of film, 170-something films a year. And then, David, on top of that, you were watching a different film every day. So there's a lot of viewing for the two of you. Yeah. You were very supportive of Australian cinema sometimes, but you did very well keeping up with. Was the pace something that you were aware of, that you had to keep going and moving forward and seeing films? Was that something you felt, Margaret?
I think that, everybody said, oh, isn't it lucky? Aren't you lucky? You just paid to watch films all day. And you forget that you can't make a doctor's appointment with any assurance that you're going to be able to keep it, because they're going to put a screening on that you've absolutely got to go and see. Mm. I had young children. I said I wasn't going to go to 6 o'clock screenings because I wanted to be at home with my babies. So there was an enormous pressure over many years to put your life on hold and just do the work, because we were on a deadline. I mean, we were on a weekly deadline at SBS, a fortnightly deadline at the ABC, which, I was a bit scared about, but it worked okay in the end, didn't it?
And David, you had travel from the Blue Mountains into the city for screenings, and then having to come back. So there was a lot of work there to attend screenings and keep up with your viewing.
Yeah, I used to stay in Sydney 2 or 3 nights a week. And you must forgive me that I'm incredibly decrepit. I've lost the hearing in this ear. I've lost the sight in this eye. You're all a blur. I can't identify any of you, but I love you all.
I I've got to tell you, the body might be weak, but the brain still got it.
The brain still goes, yes.
I think we've come to the end of our time.
We're getting there. We're coming to a conclusion. Let me wrap up.
I'm just worried about...
Yeah, we've got 2 more bits to go. So we're just going to wrap up with 2 things. One is the formal farewell in 2014. I'm just going to play it to you because I filmed it and we put it together, and it was an emotional time for everybody when you actually came to a conclusion of 28 years. So, Luca, could you play the next clip?
Well, as you might have heard by now, we've reached the point where we're stepping down from our chairs. How can you step down from chairs? I think it would have been a lot better if one of us had just fallen off, don't you reckon?
Yes, we've been doing this show for 28 years, more than 28 years by the time we finish. 10 of those years at the ABC. It's been wonderful. We've had a marvellous time. We are so appreciative of the support we've had from viewers all over the country. But we both feel that 28 years is enough, and it's time to sort of...
It's been an incredible run on television.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been enormously lucky, and, you know, our longevity is due to you guys, all you film lovers out there. So thank you so much for supporting us right from the very beginning.
And keep going to the movies.
Yes.
So that was a message we created to end the show, and I just wanted you to sort of help me wrap by reflecting on what it's meant to you, the show, and the run that you did have, which is incredible, 28 years, and how you felt about stepping back from reviewing, because suddenly there was a different landscape. We've got AI reviewing now, TikTok reviewing, so it's changed quite a bit. Could you speak about the change from when you left today?
I just had a cough.
Are you talking to me or Margaret?
I'll address it to you, David. You can answer it. But yeah, how did you feel about finishing up? And
Look,
then...
as far as I was concerned, I think it was my impetus, because 1 January when we started, I thought, I don't know that I can do this for another year. I was getting a bit... I was doing other things as well. See, that's the problem. I was also reviewing for the American trade paper Variety and for the Australian and so on.
You weren't doing that then.
I was, wasn't I?
Just finishing Variety and then the Australian.
Okay.
Well, you're doing the Australian, yes.
I was doing the Australian. Well, I had been doing Variety. It was enough. And I was sort of reluctant because I think the worst thing about it, I could tell Margaret wanted to keep going.
We had a team at the ABC. You know, if we went, the team went. You know, and a lot of them lost their jobs, and I felt very responsible for that. David didn't give a shit.
No, he didn't. He was great.
As you know.
I thought it was good that you went out on a high, which is great. I think it's really important.
Well, yeah, I think it would have been better if one of us had just died. You know.
We've only got a brief time left, so what I'd like to ask is for Q&A. We'll try and fit in a Q&A.
We haven't got time.
We've got time. We've just over by 10 minutes. We've kept to time quite well, so we're over by 10 minutes, that's all. But it will give you an opportunity to ask a question. Please think about it. I think you're a film-going audience. You can be articulate. So I'll start the ball rolling by asking David, any recommendations of films that you've seen recently that you'd like to recommend to anyone? This is the first question.
Yeah, there's a...
What a setup.
Oh, come on.
I would recommend a new French film that's going to open in about 3 weeks, I think. It's called L'Histoire de Suleiman, Suleiman's story. It's set in Paris. It's about an immigrant from Africa who is trying to make his way under very, very difficult circumstances. I wrote it down here because otherwise I wouldn't remember it. It's directed by a guy called Boris
How you pronounce
Lodge Kine.
I don't know how to pronounce that.
It has a wonderful leading actor who won the Best Actor Award in Cannes last year, and his name, I can't read it. My eyesight is so bad. Wait a minute, just a second. Hang on.
Give it to Claude.
His name is Abu Sangare. So it's the story of Suleiman, or Suleiman's story, and it'll be opening in about 3 weeks' time, I think. So I do strongly recommend it.
I don't. But David's, we like different films, and he's very much a champion.
You said you're surprised because it's a lot of shaky cam in the film as well.
It's totally handheld. When I saw it,
What you never understood, and a lot of people never understood, is I've got nothing against handheld camera work per se, if it's done well. Abu Dassouf is one of my favourite films, is handheld all the way through. It's not the fact that it's handheld, as that it's badly handheld. and a lot of the lesser directors and cinematographers, they just go here, there, everywhere, jerky. It's horrible, it's hideous. This film is handheld, it's stunning. Visually, it's absolutely
stunning. It is visually, really impressive in that way. But, I don't know whether you've seen that television series, Adolescence, where each episode is a single shot. And I thought it was really very impressive. But the second episode, when at the school, if you remember, it's following these characters upstairs, downstairs. And this one is this guy riding around Paris. It's sort of like you going with him on the way. Oh, he's walking down this way. It's sort of like I got, on-set tedium watching it, which was, and I think he's wonderful. He's so charismatic as the central character, but it just for me didn't go anywhere except down, down, down. It's one of those films.
You're so hard.
Mishaps.
Just don't take any notice of it. It's very good. Go and see it.
It's sort of like, really.
If you've got a question, please raise your hand so we can see if the mic can go to you.
Can we have the lights up in the auditorium? Is that possible?
There's a question over there, please.
Margaret. David, congratulations on a milestone. You've definitely left an imprint in our film industry. One quick question in regards to a review or your rating for this year's Best Picture, Anora.
Ask David.
What did you think, David?
David, what did you think of Anora?
What did you think of Anora?
Anora?
Yeah.
Anora.
I hated it. I hated it. There's been a couple of really grim Oscar-winning films. What was there? That ridiculous everything here at once or something like that. I hated that too.
Green Book was very undeserving.
What?
Green Book was very undeserving.
Yeah, well, but that was sort of mediocre. But Anora is, look, it gets sort of a little bit better in the second half, but I think it's a really bad film.
Next question.
Sorry.
Yep, call out quick.
Oh, hi. Margaret, were you the first woman on Australian television to have your own opinions?
I don't know, but I do think that women were very underrepresented reviewing film, presenting film. And I was, a child of the 70s, really, in that I was a feminist. And I wanted, to promote, the profile of women. No, I don't. I think there were other women before me. But I was asked to introduce movies on a Tuesday night, which is work I didn't need. It was sort of like overload. But it was Bill Collins, David Stratton.
Peter Thompson.
Yes, Peter Thompson. It's sort of like the bloke sort of took over the whole game, and I went, okay. Rod Webb, who was head of programming, said, oh, they're just soft art house films, you know, it was all like very patronising. But I got some really fabulous films to introduce. And I did it for quite a number of years. But because of that, because I wanted to validate a woman's ability to do that on television. Anyway.
Just over here, please.
Oh, hello. Yes, I have Claude, David, Margaret. Quick question: have any of you ever been in a movie yourselves? Any walk-on part, any appearance, anything?
Yes, Margaret and David can answer. They have been.
We've talked about this. I was in. I've got a smidgen in Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. We were in Venice at that stage, and Stephen Elliott, the director, had said to me, would you play a part in this film of mine, which was about drag queens going out into the desert? I thought I was just going to play in Oxford Street. I said, sure, as long as I'm not playing anybody's mother. And we were in Venice, and it was a fax in those days. I got a fax from Steph saying, you're in the film, you're playing Guy Pearce's mother. And I went, all right.
And I watched the film again the other day, and I'd always sort of pictured Margaret in a really stellar role as Guy Pearce's mother, but she's not. I mean, you only see her. You only see your back.
Exactly. Snap your fingers and you miss me. However, after LA Confidential, Guy sent me a photo of him saying, "Hey, Mum, look where I am now."
Any other questions? Over there and here.
I believe I could be wrong, but I think one of David's favourite films is Singing in the Rain. And you'll have to forgive me, Margaret, but I'm wondering if you could name one film that it might be your favourite.
A favourite.
It's on this placard out the front here. It's Nashville. Robert Altman's Nashville. And there's a retrospective of all of his films coming. It's so wonderful of the Ritz to do this sort of thing. I mean, I'm totally envious that I'm not going to be able to see all of them. But Nashville is, for me, one of the films that really got me going. And it was political, it's Robert Altman, he's such an interesting filmmaker. I ended up doing an interview with him in Cannes, after really exerting myself and having a few whiskies. And that was one of the most gorgeous things in my life. He was there for the player. But,
I strongly endorse that. Nashville is one of the great American films, I think.
Oh, we agree. This is where we ought to finish up. Let's finish up, Claude.
On that note, we'll wrap up, but I just want to thank Margaret and David. They are pretty perfect to work with, but I'll just show you this last clip to give you a different insight, and then I'll ask the Mayor to come up afterwards and thank everyone.
I don't know about this, do I?
Thank you, Luca.
And now for the bit you've all been waiting for. It's blooper time.
I have a feeling I'm not going to have a great day today. Robert Rodriguez.
The what?
Well, sci-fi thriller. Georgian filmmaker Nana Ektimishvili. Oh, no, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to go that again. Ektimishvili. Georgian filmmaker Nana Ektimishvili has developed...
Former actor Aydin Haluk sorry. Set in the early 1990s on the island of Bougainville. Is set in the early 1990s on the island of Bougainville. That was all right. I got away with that.
Not quite.
I think I did.
Oh, no, come on, guys. I've worn these a zillion times before on screen. And that, you know, that you can see them, so you know what's, you know...
But it's good, though, because it means we know when you're coming. You're like a rattlesnake. We can hear you.
No, they won't go away. They won't go away. They're just going to come up again.
They're not here.
Oh, sorry. Layla.
Shush.
Layla.
I hate it when you start this. Stop it.
I do it to irritate you.
I know, so stop it. In which her own
play
mother...
a role
Shush,
made famous
shush,
by her
shush,
mother
shush, shush,
in a
shush,
forthcoming
shush,
remake.
Shush, shush.
Made famous
Shush. It's a wonderful movie. I love it. And
by...
that's
Ours
the
is
show...
a restaurant.
Oh. Okay.
Shut up. I've got... It's my line, ad-lib. And I was full of enthusiasm and you cut me off at the pass. Why?
I don't know why.
They're ad-libs. You don't have to get them right.
Well, but they have to make sense.
And I don't want to make excuses.
Well, don't make excuses then.
Well, but I'm going to.
Okay. Well, don't. I'm not going to complain about your clip, so don't you complain
Well,
about
that's just crazy. Sorry.
It's all right. You may touch my foot anytime. I prefer you do it with your tongue rather than your shoe.
No.
I can hear a phone ringing in the studio. Do you think that's yours?
I think it might be. Oh, David.
Sorry, I can't.
Oh, sorry. I'm just trying to react the way I did before.
Oh, but you didn't say "Oh, David" before. So react, but don't say "Oh, David."
Jesus,
well,
you're
it throws me.
prosaic.
Well, I'm about to say something, and you suddenly.
All right. Okay.
Here we go. 3, 2.
Ooh.
Have you laid an egg?
Please thank Margaret and David.
Thank you so much.
I just want to say thank you to Claude.
Pleasure.
Oh, I do too.
Claude not only was our producer on television, but he's done so much behind the scenes to make this day possible, to pick the clips and all that sort of stuff. Claude,
I didn't know anything about the last lot.
Thank you.
Thank you, Claude. Oh, thank you so much. Oh, they're beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, even I get flowers. Oh, thank you.
Oh,
thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, thank you very much.
An evening with Margaret and David. Yes, agreement all throughout. So once again, a round of applause. Thank you so much.